says.
Nous n'avons pas pris les mesures qui s'imposaient parce que nous souhaitons, nous pensons encore que le secteur financier est un secteur qui produit de la richesse pour l'Union européenne et nous ne voyons pas qu'il nous mène au bord du précipice et peut-être au-delà. On voit des choses absolument absurdes. On voit Chypre, dont le système bancaire surdimensionné s'effondre, demander l'aide de l'Union européenne. Le Chypre est un paradis fiscal, un endroit de lessivage de fonds noirs de la mafia russe. Le taxpayers' money, l'argent des citoyens européens, va aller sauver les banques chypriotes pour dédommager les criminels cachés russes. Dans quel monde vivons-nous?
Accountants have not been subject to the same degree of scrutiny for some time. They've had a remarkably good recession. Very few countries have paid much attention to the role of accountants in the creation of the crisis that we have around the world. I mean, just to give an example, the accounts of all the banks that failed, whether it be in France or Belgium or Switzerland or the UK or anywhere, were signed off by a Big Four firm of accountants as being true and fair. Now, why weren't those accountants criticised for signing off accounts which clearly were not true and fair because these banks were basically bust? But they've got away with it. One of the problems that we have when we look at the role, for example, of the accountants is that there is nobody who judges the accountants. In fact, so powerful is their position that we now see them far from being regulated. Instead, they're taking over the regulators. So, in the UK, the new chairman of our tax authority is the former senior partner of KPMG in this country. The same thing is happening in Australia. Literally, a KPMG person is taking over at the tax authority. Very many governments are looking at privatisation. Who do they look to prepare the reports on their privatised businesses? Well, it's the Big Four firms of accountants. If they want advice on how to reorganise their tax systems, they set up a committee and call in the experts. Who are those experts? It's the Big Four firms of accountants. So we have the accountants so in charge of the rules. And this stuff, by the way, is backed by the European Union, which basically means that at the end of the day, we end up with the EU passing laws written by the Big Four accountants about how the Big Four accountants should be regulated and report, with the consequence that they're not accountable to anybody.
So how far from Nairobi are we now?
61 kilometers.
How do you know so precise?
It was written.
Okay.
A zebra.
We head for Mombasa, even further away, to what is to become the next outpost of the tax-free universe.
So it's enormous, Johannes.
Yeah, it's very large. It's about slightly above 2 hectares.
And what do they expect to happen here?
They expect to have like a communication hub, an ICT hub.
Do you know if they will come?
Well,
Google and the IBMs?
it demands a bit of some marketing to bring those big companies here in the middle of nowhere.
What does it say?
ICT Technopolis Vision 2030 flagship project. There's RIM, there's Microsoft, there's HP, Toshiba. It seems they are focusing on big brands, MacBook.
We've grown used to the benefits of offshore. It's delivered us finance and cheap loans, but where did that go? This is kind of the dilemma that people worry about. I mean, they think, well, if you take away all these funneling of profits here, and you do this and you do that, then would we have Amazon doing what it does? I mean, they've been able to, perhaps along with their competition, the people that they compete with in the market, they've been faced with the same setup of places that they can book their profits and their losses, but maybe they're just better at it. I mean, that's a horrid realization that these things that we love, that we need, have got used to, and the people who are good at it have got there through their clever sort of financial, fiscal manipulation. It involves really everybody. It involves governments, it involves businesses, it involves consumers and citizens. And we want, we're greedy. We're greedy people. We are in a battle with each other and our governments to survive, to make money. And if your business is making money, you will bloody go out and fight your competitors, the taxman, the government, to get your own way. Why not?
The belief is that in total, US corporations now have well over $1 trillion of money stored in the likes of Bermuda. This money cannot go to the shareholders of these companies because it would have to go through the US parent company. I believe that the shares in these companies are seriously overvalued because if the value was ever to eventually get to the shareholder, significant extra tax bills would be payable, which would inevitably bring the share price down. So we're seeing market distortions as a result of this. The only good news is that they've actually got to do something with this money, and they're lending it to governments to pay for the deficits that most countries around the world are running. So mysteriously, tax havens are funding the deficits which governments are running because they can't collect enough cash in the form of tax from companies because they're hiding it in tax havens. So we go round in a giant circle here where these companies are lending this money to governments instead of paying it in tax to make sure that the whole world system keeps going. It's bizarre, but that's what is going on. A political party that wants to go and say, I will raise tax to clear our deficit, faces this enormous pressure from multinational corporations who say, we'll walk out of the door, whether they would or wouldn't. All of that means that the options available to government to actually go forward to generate new growth to meet the needs of their electorates is being undermined. And therefore, this is, frankly, threatening democracy, in my opinion.
That almost brings us to the end of our tour through a world of financial structures and capital flows that is so difficult to map, but that affects us all. A world that we have allowed to prosper under our very noses without having a good grasp of the systemic risk involved.
La Commission a promis qu'elle allait établir sa propre liste des paradis fiscaux. Mais vous voyez, ça fait 3 années que je suis parlementaire, ça n'a pas bougé. Donc mon espoir à moi, ce sont les citoyens. C'est le fait que les Londoniens, un jour, ne vont plus supporter que seule la classe moyenne et les pauvres payent l'impôt, que Starbucks ne paye pas d'impôt, que Coca-Cola ne paye pas d'impôt, que Ikea ne paye pas d'impôt, que Total ne paye pas d'impôt. Je me dis, un jour, les citoyens vont dire, nous payons 40% dans les pays scandinaves, nordiques, peut-être 20% en France, que la demande et la révolte contre cela viendraient des citoyens.
Do you, all of you, accept that alongside your duties to your shareholders, as Mr. Britton has just alluded to, you have obligations to the societies in which you operate and from which you derive huge benefits, and that those obligations include paying tax?
Yes. Yes, very much so.
And do you accept the principle that profits should be taxed in the countries in which they're made and where genuine economic activity is concerned?
Very much so.
Yes.
Profits should be taxed in the countries where the economic activity takes place that drives those profits. So in our case, where the innovation takes place. Our business is made in countries.
Thank you for joining the tax-free tour. Of course, this film was made possible with the taxpayers' money. Please join us again next time.
I would make a fortune if I worked for, well, what my wife calls the dark side. But on the other hand, I can sleep at night, and I think that's the big difference.
Ce n'est pas de répandre les écoles des Indiens lorsqu'on est Coca-Cola. C'est de payer des impôts au Mexique.
Starbucks heeft nu gezegd van, nou, wij willen juist graag wel belasting betalen.
Dit is uniek. Nee, dit is wat Starbucks ons slaat als echt een uniek voorbeeld.
Would you like to be in the shoes of Apple, Starbucks or Pfizer for a change and find out the route along which you would pay the least taxes? Go to taxodus.net. Taxodus, the game.